Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. All right, so we're in studio today, which is pretty exciting. It's been a minute, right? When you say a little minute.
It's definitely been a minute.
So we're in studio, and it's always fun in studio when we can get the guest in here, and I'm so excited to get him on here today. But I'm going to give you guys just a little, I say little, he's got a lot of cool stuff, so I don't even know if it's a little, but some tidbit of information about him before I welcome him on.
Well, I know, I was asking him all about his information.
Did you?
Before you came in, and I was like, and you said a little, I was like,
I know, there is no little to this.
There's no way that there's a little
Yeah,
bit
there's
in
no
it.
little to this. He's got a lot of cool stuff going on here. So anyways, he says he's traversed the journey from being a homeless teen to the military on to becoming who he is today. He has 15 years of combined teaching and coaching experience at high schools in Texas and holds a principal administration certification. He served in the U.S. Army for 8 years before earning a Bachelor of Science from Mississippi State University. He was awarded a Master of Educational Leadership from Sul Ross State University and a Bachelor of Anatomy, Doctor of Chiropractic, and Master of Strength and Performance from Parker University. And I am aware of Parker because I know a couple of people that went there. So welcome. We're excited. So before we get him on here, let's do a shout out to our sponsors because we got to do that, right, Chloe?
Of course.
We got to get this out. Another important part of the show. So today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube, photography work, or a new headshot, he can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, go to photosbywalt.com. We also want to give a shout out to Chris Clow of Upbeat Media Productions. If you are in need of turnkey special event production, Clow is your go-to. You can learn more about him and his work at upbeatmediapro.com. All right, before I welcome Dr. Davis McAlister onto the show, I got to say something about this Upbeat Media thing. It was so funny because one day I said Chris and somebody on the show said, no, it needs to be Chloe is your go-to. So we just say Chloe is the go-to. So
what's funny is even on my business cards it says just call Chloe.
I know. I think it does. You're right. I saw that. All right. So Dr. Davis McAlister is an author, public speaker, coach, and doctor of chiropractic. He coaches powerlifting at the high school and national levels and is active in his local community by volunteering and supporting high schools in North Texas. Dr. McAlister is also the sports chiropractor and certified strength and conditioning coach working with high-performance athletes in Dallas. He's also the author of The Pillars of Powerful Parenting. Guess what your teen told me today? An upcoming book on success principles. So welcome to the show. We're excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, there's no way we could have shortened all this stuff, you know? It's like when I read these bios, it's my favorite part to go through these, and it's like, where do we find the most important pieces? But then some of you guys have such incredible stuff. It's like, what do we leave out here?
Yeah, my wife says my resume looks more like a shotgun blast than it does anything laser focused. So.
Hey, well, you know what? That's the journey, right? That's the journey of how we get where we are. And I've always said they're never linear.
Yep, exactly.
So I want to talk about what you're doing right now because, and I don't even know where I want to start with this because you've got, homeless to where you are today. There's so many things, military, all of this. So let's start with what you're doing right now because you're doing this powerlifting and then you're also coaching and working with these athletes. So give us a little bit of background on that.
So right now we're actually in the middle of our high school powerlifting season. So I've got work with the local high school. I coach their girls powerlifting program. And this year I have 27 girls, and we just got done with our regular season. We're trying to get qualified for regionals. In order to get into regionals, you have to finish in the top 12 in the region in your weight class. All 27 qualified. Wow. So we have our regional meet this coming Saturday, and then out of that, we're trying to see how many we can get qualified for state. You have to finish in the top 2 of your weight class at regionals to be able to qualify for state.
That's crazy.
Have about 13 or 14 that are in position to qualify.
How many girls are this that you have right now you're working
27.
with?
27.
Wow. And they all of them.
All of them qualified.
That's awesome.
I have more girls than any other school, that qualified for regionals. So, yeah.
What do you think attributed to the success?
In all honesty, it's the culture we develop.
This is good.
When I took over that program 6 years ago, we moved to Aubrey, and my daughters and my youngest son went to school there, and I had a reputation built up from other schools that I had worked with as a powerlifting coach, and they said, hey, is your dad Coach McAlister? And they were like, yeah. They said, have them call me.
Wow.
And so they said, will you come coach our girls powerlifting program? I said, yeah, absolutely. And so we started off with 6 girls the first year, and that's every year it's gotten a little bit bigger and a little better, and had more girls qualifying and moving up to where we are now.
That's so awesome.
It's funny, we talk about girls powerlifting and how much more popular it has become. And it's funny because the other day, HEB just opened down the way, so I had to go visit, and I went to go to HEB, and this girl's in there, and you can tell she's bulking up. She's buying protein and all this stuff. Her legs were so muscular. I was just like, wow. And I just had to ask, like, so are you a powerlifter? She's like, yeah, I powerlift. I do this. And I'm like, man, it's crazy. I mean, she wasn't a super tall girl, so she had an advantage. You know, the shorter girls usually can lift a lot more because they have less distance to go. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, all of my top tier girls are sitting in first or second in their weight class in the region. In every weight class, there's 12 weight classes, and so I have girls sitting either in the top or second place, or some of them I have both spots taken up.
So awesome. Yeah, but something you said to me that's sticking out is the culture. I think that's what I'm hearing, like sticking out in my mind right now. And the reason I say that is because I don't know if I shared this with you, but Chloe probably knows. I'm building a program right now. I'm actually, as of yesterday, finished the first 2 phases. I'm so excited. I'm in the proofing phase right now. I've been working on this since October. It's like 1,600 slides in this thing. It's that much of a beast. But it's interesting because one section that I talk about in there is all about culture and fractal starting conditions and and it's not so much even, how you do in your business. It's really in everything you do, right? It's really how you conduct your life and how you deal with people and how you deal with your work ethic and all of that. It just carries over. And I always say how you do one thing is how you do all things. So how you show up in one area is really how you show up in all the areas, right? So I think that's a testament to whatever you're doing, with that culture, because if you've got that many people that are qualifying and you're having that growth like that, that's huge.
Yeah. Killing it.
The big thing is setting a high standard.
Yeah.
Being very clear about where their standards are. And unfortunately, in a lot of girls' sports, there tends to be a little bit more drama.
Yes.
And
sure,
they're told up front, I don't have any patience for drama. We don't have time for it.
That's good.
We can't be a successful program and deal with that too.
That's good.
And so, the precedent is set, and then the girls themselves maintain that amongst themselves. And if somebody starts drama, they shut it down. And the big thing too is my senior leadership. I grow my seniors to be leaders, and I have a talk with them at the beginning of every season. Say, look, you guys are actually running the team. I'm providing the workouts, I'm providing the coaching and the skill sets and all those things. As far as the team is concerned, this is your team. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Think about the seniors that came before you. How did they treat you? How do you want to be remembered?
I like it.
I said, because you're going to be remembered for one of 2 things, either good
or bad. I like it.
How do you want to be remembered?
That's good. And I imagine that, when you set that from the beginning, there's that expectation. But these girls are not weak girls either. These are tough girls, that are they're taking this seriously. And I love it.
I just want to, how did you stop the drama again? You just said what?
I just said we're not putting up with it.
Yeah.
And they're told up front, if you are the source of drama, you'll get warned one time.
Yeah.
If you do it again, you're done.
It's just this. It's coming. It's just there's the message, right?
There you go.
Just know.
Yeah.
I learned something. Yes. I've been working with this mentor since I guess we're in 23, so November of 21, and he's been like that from the get go. I mean, just the way he operates. It's a small group of us. We have no drama. There is no drama, but he set that from the very beginning. It was like we just don't do this here.
Yeah.
And even like when we had a couple of people exit the group, and he's like, "There's no need for sentimental stuff. You're exiting, you exit. Just go. It's okay." We just don't have drama, and I love it because, so many times when you're involved in organizations, and even just recently, I'm sure the person that's going to listen is going to hear this, but I was telling this story about how I X'd myself from a girl group, like a group of girls, because every time I'd go there, I just felt like there was always this. I don't know. It just was a lot. I didn't like it. And so I just sort of kind of axed myself out of it because I don't like the drama. And so I think when people only ever do what you ask of them to do, like what the expectations are, and if they think that can happen, then that happens.
Yeah. I call it creating the soil. You create the soil in an organization, and people are going to do one of two things. They're either going to weed themselves out, or they're going to grow in that soil, and they're going to continue to multiply. And
yeah. And I think the weeding is not a bad thing. I think it's like, like in somebody like me, if you're in something and you recognize this is not serving you well, weed yourself out. Like this is not your tribe. This is not your people. You need to go to a different, group or whatever. So I like it. If we didn't get anything out of it, that was our conversation for the day. Right there. Fractal starting conditions, culture, setting standards, right? If we won't learn anything, we're going to learn that today. It's good. It's good.
I mean, I've got some girls that are lifting 3 times their body weight.
My goodness.
My youngest daughter's on the team, and she weighs, she's in the 114 weight class. So she weighs average about 108, 109 pounds.
Wow.
And she's squatting 335. She's got a 200-pound bench, and she's deadlifting about 285 pounds.
Crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So,
tough girls. I love it. I love it. Female power.
Yeah, I've got another girl. She's squatting and deadlifting over 400 pounds. So, yeah, I've got a really, really great group of girls this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I really like your story. And I think that the thing I really like about it is you're not just stuck in like one category. Like you're like I am. You've got a lot of different areas that you've kind of traversed, right?
Yes.
Like the journeys at places you've gone, which makes you, I guess, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but
Most people call it ADHD just because I get bored easy. So.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's my problem. My son was diagnosed with that. Maybe that's my problem is I get bored easily. But I think it's good because all of your stuff sort of in ways, I always feel like when you have situations like this, there are things that actually really overlap. If you're working with kids, it's great to know health. I think anytime you're working with humans, it's great to know health stuff and behaviors and both mental and physical sides of things. So are you doing chiropractic care now at this point? Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I do work for Parker University.
Okay.
I developed their sports clinical program, training interns to work with athletes and that type of thing. I also have my own patients and clients that I see on the side. So I still engage in all that.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time putting anything down and just completely walking away from it. So I'm always going to dabble in a little bit of everything that I do.
You don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
No,
that's what I say. As an entrepreneur, that's what I say. My mother, I was on the phone with my mother yesterday, and she says to me, because I said, well, I'm working on this program right now, and I'm not, I've talked about it, and I've had people that keep asking me, like, is it coming along? I'm like, yeah, I'm just quietly in the back. I've been working on it, She's like, you're always doing stuff. Like, you're just always working on something. And I'm like, no, this is the last big project. This is going to be the last big project that I do. It's like the big one. But I'm like that too. And I feel like I say it's boredom. I get bored when things start getting sort of stagnant. It's like I got to go either learn something or stir something up, But makes you talented. You get more knowledge.
Well, I'm very anti-complacency. I don't, I don't want to just do the same thing day in and day out all the time. That's not,
What got you into chiropractic care to begin with? What was the inspiration? I'm curious. I'm a pro chiropractic fan.
Yeah.
I love chiropractors, so I'm not. This is a good question.
Yeah. So when I got out of the military, obviously I was, I'd spent 8 years and was pretty beat up. And then of all things, I was a competitive power lifter at the time. And when I started going to school at Mississippi State, I was still powerlifting. And my organic chemistry lab partner was the starting tight end.
Organic chemistry.
Yeah. And he said, why don't you come out and do a tryout? And, we're doing a walk-on tryout. Why don't you come out? And I said, okay. And, I was an old guy on the team. And I was like, there's no way they're going to keep me. But I'm like, you can't hit if you don't swing. Right. Well, I went out and they ended up keeping me. So I'm sitting there playing, or at the time I was practicing. I wasn't playing yet. Practicing college football, at the age of 25, almost 26 years old. And, of course, you add that with everything else that I had done. And my body was pretty beat up. And so I went and visited my uncle in San Antonio. And he said, you know what, I'm going to take you to my chiropractor. I said, a what? He said, my chiropractor. I said, what's a chiropractor?
Right.
And so he tried to explain it to me. And I was like, okay, I'm not getting it. So he took me to his chiropractor. And after that first adjustment, I was like, that was the best I had felt in years. I got out and ran that night, and that was the best run I had been able to do in years. I didn't have all the aches and pains I normally had to go with it. And I was like, that's something I think I could do, and I can help people with that.
Yeah.
And so I changed my major around to where I was more on a pre-med track.
Okay.
Still finished my bachelor's degree in 2.5 years, and then moved on to chiropractic school.
Wow. Very cool. I like chiropractic care, but I'm a holistic person, so I like everything. It's like somebody. It's so funny because I don't like medicine, and I don't want to say I'm an advocate for don't take medicine. If you need to take something, you take it, but I don't like it. Yeah. So if I can find a holistic means to try to take care of something, I'm all over it. So I haven't been my GI doctor, because my old issue flared up again. So she gave me some medicine, and I wrote her the other day, and I'm like, it's making me have adrenaline rushes. I can't do this. I just can't. I cannot. I hate medicine. Yeah. So oddly enough, Tuesday I decided to just take off the last one. I just said, I'm not going to take it Wednesday. I woke up Wednesday morning, and I'm like, this is weird. I actually feel better today. So I'm all about holistic stuff. Like, I'm all like on it.
Yeah. One of the things I'm really happy to see that's becoming a more common trend now is that you're starting to see more integrated type practices where they're combining both, the medical and the chiropractic and the nutrition and those things together, to where you get the best of
all of them,
all of it, rather than saying medical is the only way, chiropractic is the only way. There's a reason why we have all these different things available, because not everybody's going to respond to the same thing.
I agree.
And sometimes it takes, there's been patients that I've had come in that they are so flared up, I tell them, you've got to go get your pain under control. And I'll send them back to their, PCP or their nurse practitioner, whoever, and say, or I'll send them to an ortho that I know and say, look, I said, I can't help them if we can't get this pain under control. Right. And they may have to get on a little bit of medication just to handle that, so that I can do what I need to do. Yeah. And that's great when you can be able to work together like that.
I agree with you on that. I was going to say my GI doctor is a lot like that. He works with a lot of triathletes, and he's kind of a hybrid between. That's why I like him, because and he has a podcast that he does, and he talks has a lot of holistic practitioners come on. But I agree with you on that, and it's funny because I always joke and say, like if you're having a diabetic problem and you need to go to the ER, get what you need to get, but when you get home, change your diet. Like then you go home and fix it. You can't do that while you're in the ER, and so I agree with you. There has to be that kind of happy middle where that's why I said I'm not totally anti-medicine. I just think that if there's a way that we can deal with it and have kind of a hybrid, and that's what people keep asking me with this thing I'm dealing with. They're like, what's your strategy with that? And I said, there's probably a mix. I need an abortive method. I need something to abort. It's like a migraine. If you can't, you can do things to prevent migraines. You can go to chiropractic care and prevent those kinds of things. But if you get one, in the moment, what do you got to do? You need to abort. You need to figure out a way to abort. And so you have to be realistic. And that's where I think you and I are agreeing that there has to be kind of that blend. And because it's not even, taking care of the body is not just about getting those Band-Aids slapped on. It's the preventative stuff that goes in the forefront, all the things you do, like the chiropractic care. And I love my acupuncture people. Like, I got them all.
Yeah. And it was funny because when I first graduated out of school, and I've been doing this for 20 years, and when I first got out of school, there was still very much that separation between chiropractors, and chiropractors don't talk to medical doctors. Right. Medical doctors don't talk to chiropractors. And I took a very different approach. And the first time I walked into, I had an internal medicine guy that was right down the street from me, and I went in and I talked to him and said, look, I want to work together.
That's awesome.
He looked at me like I was,
like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I'd lost my mind. And then I went in and did the same thing with an ortho. And I said, look, I think we can help each other. Let's put something together. And I caught all kinds of flack from the other chiropractors because I was fraternizing with the medical community. And I was going against the status quo. And it's funny because now that's come back full circle. And now that's becoming more common practice and commonplace. So.
Yeah, it would make sense. It's and you're right, because I remember way back when, when people would say things about chiropractors and they would make all these derogatory remarks, and I'm like, how do you say that though? Like, they're doing different things. How do you not question the doctor that's prescribing 10 prescriptions to you, and you're not asking, do any of those even go together?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is in that world, in the medical world, when someone is like, oh no, that's so off-putting. That makes me want to go do it more.
Me too. Yes.
It makes me. It's like I'm like, something must be right there.
Exactly.
Because people wouldn't be talking so much smack about it if it wasn't actually doing something.
Yeah. Oh, I've told you, like the times I was going to a chiropractor for a while, and every time I'd go in there and he'd pop my neck, I'd come out and I'd be like, oh, the brick was off my back. Because I was in a car accident, so I had whiplash, and so I was going there. I also had gotten diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia, so I was dealing with a lot. So every time I'd go in there, I would just come out and I'd be like, oh, I just felt like it sounds so when your neck is popping, right? Like it just, you think about it and you're like, ooh, this sounds, but it felt so good.
Yeah. And the thing is too, and I think people tend to forget, there's good and bad in every profession.
Yes.
There have been some really bad chiropractors that have given chiropractors a really bad name.
Yeah.
There's been medical doctors that do the same thing.
Right.
And I think people lose sight of that. They see one bad incident and then they just scrap the whole
it's
profession.
black or white. It's just one way or the other.
I asked somebody one time, I said, so
chiropractors have actually killed someone.
Ooh.
And somebody may find something that proved me wrong, but I have not come across a single case where somebody has died as a direct result of a chiropractic adjustment.
The medicals, there's plenty of that.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, chiropractors have the lowest malpractice insurance rates of any other doctor profession, and so there's a reason for that.
Yeah. I've never had a bad thing with chiropractic care. I've never had anything bad come from it.
Yeah, I mean, I always occasionally run across somebody that's had that bad experience, and all I can do is listen to them and say, "Look," I said, "my goal is for you to have a good experience, with me, and the goal is to help you."
It's good. So. I would say dentists now. I can tell you lots of bad experiences with dentists. My daughter messaged me the other day, and she's like, she had a root canal done, and she's like, I got to go. I got sent to a specialist. They got to redo it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. If you could get it, could you just get an implant? It's a lot easier. Get that out of your body. Get that nasty out. I ended up doing that, and then I ended up having to have that. That's what set off all my trigeminal neurologist stuff. Like that's why I said when I talk dentist, I can tell you plenty of those stories.
I had a bad story with a dentist too.
Yeah, it was dentist. Yeah.
I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I've never had a cavity, never had a problem.
Oh, you're good.
And then I've also, the other thing is I've never had a headache. So
you just been. It's because you're all happy, jolly, Chris Clow.
I tear and break things.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're the happy jolly. I think sometimes too. Some of the stuff is like, because depending on how much stress like your type of personality and the stress you have, and you can manifest. Because I used to get migraines. I don't get those really anymore. But my husband used to say, you allow that to happen. I'm like, no. I'm like, you clearly never had a migraine. You don't know what those feel like.
Go to your room.
I had a pain specialist that I went to, and I actually did like this pain specialist because he was pragmatic. I mean, I could email this guy and be like, the medicine you gave me was too much. We need to take it down. But his theory was kind of like yours. He always said, we have to get your pain down. We've got, because you're doing all these things, but we've got to get your blood pressure down. Your pain is too much and your blood pressure is too high from the pain. We've got to get you under control. And so he was always pragmatic, whereas, like my neurologist, I didn't really care for her, and they didn't agree on medications. So it was always this tension going on. But he told me, that a lot of times, like, these things all kind of sort of go together. Like, you got, like, it's like I had a doctor tell me one time, like, acid reflux. That tends to fit a certain personality type. And I'm like, okay, is that migraine and trigeminal? Like, is all of that linked, type of personality? Yeah. So you're jolly.
One of the things I figured out too, because I did have a problem with headaches, for a while, and what I have since learned is through actually working with a lot of veterans. I was working in a clinic that they did functional neurology as well as clinical neurology. Yeah. And I kind of handled more of the physical side of things through movement assessments and those types of things, trying to see how it's affecting their body. And people that have had repeated concussions, traumatic brain injuries, those types of things, they tend to have a consistent history of headaches. Makes sense, and I've had quite a few concussions over the years and did not associate the long-term effects between the two. Right. And so, but it's also, with my own experience with that, it's allowed me to be able to help a lot of veterans as well. Yeah. So.
Everything's connected. That's what I always say. It's always connected. That's why I tell my kids right now, be careful the decisions you make. They haunt you later. Yes. And they come back to haunt you, and sometimes they show up in the weirdest ways, right? Yeah. Like, you don't think that's going to be a problem, then it comes up later. So this has been good. So I don't know if I want to say, like, what have you learned in this journey? Because you've just been kind of like doing so many great things. I know about, you said that you get bored. We talked about that, and you don't like complacency. But what do you feel like has been like the big maybe takeaway in all of these things that you have done?
This is my big thing, is that I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve a purpose. And And I kind of, and I don't know everybody's belief system. This is just where I go.
Sure.
I feel God leads me where he needs me, and where I land is where I'm going to serve. Everything that's happened in my life, people have asked me, because, I ended up being homeless for a while as a teenager.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up in the military, and did not have a great relationship with my parents and all those things. But I've taken all those things and I learned that failure is not necessarily failure. Failure has to be a launching pad towards success,
Right.
if you embrace it and as long as you follow that guideline.
Yeah.
Life is all about problems and us being able to continue to grow. You can't grow stronger in character and spirit if you don't have adversity in your life.
Right.
It's just like lifting weights. If you want to get stronger, you've got to increase the weight. You've got to increase the intensity of your workouts. It's the same thing with your life. In life, you're always dealing with one of three things. You're either going into a problem, in the middle of a problem, or coming out of a problem. And most of the time, you're in all three phases.
Yes.
Because just a minute, it's like trying to collect chickens in a basket, little baby chicks in a
Right. basket.
As soon as you get all of them, one's going to jump out. And so
Right.
you got all these different areas of your life that you're trying to manage and deal with things. And, just continue to grow from those. Look at life as a, learning experience rather than reacting to every little thing that comes and happens in your life. And understand that you're going to be interrupted.
Yeah.
And you got to be interruptible. And you deal with those things at the time, and you continue to manage and balance. And
That's good.
I have a quick
Yeah, go
question.
for
So
this.
in that boredom and complacency that you don't like, so when you get into those areas, do you ever jump way outside of your comfort zone? Because if you look at what you do, you're an author, you're a coach, you're a chiropractor, and those all kind of line up with some things. Do you ever say, well, you know what, I'm going to try this to do something? Because I find when I get bored and I do the same. I pretty much stick with in the music entertainment area. I'm going to try and
You want to know if he's doing something really crazy.
I'm going to try some cameras. I'm going to try this, or I'm going to try something new, but I don't go too far out of that. Reach.
I'll be honest with you. Just about everything I've done has been that. It's when I started coaching, the first athletic director that I interviewed with, he told me, he said, just because you played sports doesn't mean you can coach it. And so with everything, there's going to be a process and a learning curve that has to go with it. And so long as you understand that, and you embrace that there's going to be a process and it's not going to happen overnight. You're not automatically just going to start doing it and be successful at it. You've got to be okay with the fact that there's a process.
Right.
For me right now, it's I've started wading into the waters of this public speaking and trying to get out in front of people more. And for the longest time, I was a complete introvert. I'm the guy that sits back and I just watch everybody else in the room.
You're checking it out, eyeing. Yeah.
And so now I'm stepping outside my comfort zone and I'm trying to figure out this whole speaking side of things, and how do you find people that want to find speakers, and what do they look for, and also just the whole art of speaking itself, trying to figure all that out and fine tune those processes. And
I have somebody I already want to connect you with. I know somebody I need to connect you with. This is what I do, connect.
Yeah.
You've said so many interesting things. I do want to go back to what you said about the going into the crisis and all that. I heard that from a pastor many, many years ago, way back when we were living in Houston. We were going to this non-denominational church, and I remember this pastor saying that. And it's funny because I repeat that all the time. I say that. You're either going, coming out, or about to be in. You're always, and sometimes you're in all of that.
Yeah.
So, but I think this is good. I like the serving part and what you're being called to do. I think that's awesome, and I can sense that. The speaking thing, I think that... that's a tricky thing to navigate. I've got some people I need to connect you with. I had a guy that I interviewed a few weeks ago, and I don't know why he just came to mind, but I actually was connecting him to somebody else. He was taken to, I think, he was taken across the country and dropped off somewhere, and he was into drugs and a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
He completely turned his life around, and now he goes around to the schools in the area. So he's out that way too. He's going around speaking to them about drug addiction and all of those things. I need to connect you to him because he might have some things for you. I don't know that. I'm I need to connect you to. Awesome guy. Yeah. And I actually, with him, I met him. Remember Seneca? Seneca? Okay. Seneca was in prison. He was in federal prison for crime. He was the first episode on this show when we first relaunched. And he turned his life around. Now he's got a nonprofit, and he introduced me to this guy, Jason Queen, who they met at Grant Cardone's or it was at the speaker thing, a big speaker convention. They both were speakers, and Grant Cardone was actually one of the judges there. So I need to get you in that circle with them because they're doing a lot of that stuff. And
that'd be great.
Yeah.
I've found that, just like anything else, it's all about connections. And,
Yes.
And, when somebody says, hey, I know a guy, that's that's the thing.
Yeah.
And with everything else that I've done, you build a network. And I have been in Orlando Airport and run into somebody that I know.
Isn't that
I've
crazy?
been down at Corpus and run into, and my wife makes fun of me all the time. She says, "Can we go somewhere
We don't know.
that you don't run into somebody that you know?"
My whole family says that about me. Everywhere, it doesn't
I
matter.
can totally see that
out of
with you.
town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't mean anywhere I go. It's you'll hear out of the crowd because if someone yells Chris, I usually won't turn around.
You have to
If
go
someone
Chloe.
goes Chloe, I'm like,
Then
hey, that's someone.
Well, at least you guys don't have to get dressed up because I have those moments too. That's me. And then I won't be dressed and I'll be like, I don't want anybody to find me today. Let me put my beanie on, put my glasses on, and it never fails. There'll be somebody that I know somewhere, and I'm like, no, it was not supposed to happen today, or I'm in my pajama lounge pants, running around like, no.
Yeah.
So, but I have that happen a lot too, and it's like, there's those days I'm like, no, do not want to be seen today. So this is good, but yes, and I think with the speaking thing, that is stepping out of your comfort zone because I remember that doesn't bother me so much anymore. But I remember when I was in the network marketing space for many, many years, and when I first went into that, I was like so freaking shy. Like nobody believes this now. They're like, there's no way, but. Ended up, I had to start doing these presentations, and then I had to start training. Then I became a leader, like I was a director in the company. Yep. So then I had to manage a team and I had to start speaking. Then I got pulled to speak at big events, and I went into another company, had to speak in front of like 500 people. So it just sort of kind of, now I don't even care anymore. I do some of these podcasts. I'm like, you don't like it, don't look. So you just get over it, and I think the one advice I always give to people on that is just learn to laugh at yourself. Yep. That is the biggest. Just learn to laugh at yourself. Yep. Takes away the pain. Takes it all away. When you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just laugh. Mm-hmm. Very cool, very cool. Okay, so anything coming up? We got this powerlifting thing coming up. Anything? Because I know you're like, you got all these things going on. Is there anything new we need to know about other than the speaking?
Yeah, right now, I've got the book out, and so I've been promoting that quite a bit. Okay. I'm working on another one right now.
Fun.
Writing a book on just success principles and taking people kind of through the process of everything that I learned and having to overcome my situations and learning how to get past those things and learning to find a purpose in life and how do you navigate that.
Yeah.
So those are things that I put together and I'm writing
exciting.
a book on that. And
what are the names of those books and where can our listeners find them?
So the first book came out back in September, and that's The Pillars of Powerful Parenting. Guess what my team told me today, and I actually wrote a study guide to go with it for people that want to, for me to actually work with them on guiding them through the book and the study guide, and I've actually had some parents and teens that I've gotten to start working with already that we take them through the book, and the book is not meant to tell people how to parent. It's meant to provide a framework.
Yeah.
And it took me 10 years to write. So when I started teaching and coaching, I had all these kids that would come and talk to me and tell me, asking for advice, and they had problems at home, and of course I'm going to relate to that. I had problems at home growing up too, and so I relate to these kids, and I started thinking about, well, as a parent, who are my kids talking to? What advice are they getting? What questions are they asking? And so my wife and I sat down, and there were some commonalities with all these kids in their home situations. We kind of broke it down into 10 basic principles or pillars, as we called them. And I just told her, I said, you know what? I said, this is kind of shaping up to be a book after I've been kind of writing some of this stuff down for a couple of years. I said, but there's no way I'm ready to put this out. I said, we need to put this into practice. We need to make sure this actually is going to work before I tell people about it. And so we spent the next 10 years putting it into practice. And then about a year and a half ago, I got a clear message it was time to finish the book. And so I finished it and put it out there. So we have that. That's on Amazon. All you got to do is just Google my name or search my name and the name of the book, and it'll pop right up with a study guide. The next one that's come up right now, the working title is The P's of Success. When I started writing down these different principles, that I was talking about. I kept coming up with P words for whatever reason. So, so that's that's the working title right now.
Very cool.
So.
Very cool. Well, I have another contact for you now too, since you talked about the parenting thing too. I'm like, I'm just full of them today. Remind me to give them to you.
Absolutely.
I have another person that I think you could do some synergistic work with on parenting. So very cool.
Awesome.
I want to ask him some fun questions.
Cool.
I think we need to do that because this has been amazing, but I think we need to do some fun stuff. Do you have anything you want to start with, or do you want me to start?
Go ahead, you start.
Okay. I want to know, because I know you've worked with some athletes, and I don't know if you can tell us anything. Who's been like some cool people that we need to know about?
Problem with that, people ask me that all the time.
I know.
There is this little thing called HIPAA.
That's right. That's right. Can't tell us all that.
Yeah, can't tell all that.
Can you tell us what teams? Are you allowed to tell us that?
I can tell you that I have worked with several retired players that came out of the Oakland Raiders organization when they were still in Oakland. The Atlanta Falcons.
Awesome.
So some of those teams.
Yeah.
I was with the XFL when they tried to kick that off the first time.
Okay.
And was with them until COVID shut the season down.
Yeah.
So I got to work, and a lot of those guys were coming out of the league and trying to get back into the league, and which was the initial purpose of creating that XFL league, was to try to draw some attention to these guys and get them back.
We always like to try to ask a cool question, but I forgot about the HIPAA thing.
Yeah, that's the whole HIPAA thing.
I know. We've had a couple athletes on the show. I had I don't know if we remember, what was his name? I'm drawing it by Jonathan Haggerty. He was funny. He's from I think he was Cleveland Browns, and he's working with the Dallas now. I don't know what he's doing. He's a coach now.
Yeah.
So fun stuff. Oh, cool. All right, do you have one? You still thinking?
I'm just kind of got so
like
much
so
going
much
on.
distraction.
Yeah, so I can't.
All right. Well, I know. I'll ask you this. I know because you're like I am, and you try to take care of yourself and all that good stuff. Okay. So, favorite guilty pleasure food? What's your favorite all-time junkie thing?
I'm a horrible chocolate junkie.
I like chocolate too.
I love chocolate.
Yeah. I don't eat it very
Ice
much.
cream too. I like ice cream, and I have to stay away from it because
it doesn't do the body good.
No, it
I
doesn't.
know. I love custard, man. I could go eat that, but I don't eat it very often because I don't feel good if I eat that stuff too.
Yeah.
But I like chocolate too, and I didn't like chocolate for many, many years. And then one day I'm serious, like I was like 45 before I liked chocolate. And then one day I woke up and I was like, dude, I like chocolate. Yeah. Where'd that come from? My mom's like, what's wrong with you? Are you possessed?
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right, travel destination. I know you're going on a cruise coming up. Where's been the coolest place you've traveled so far?
Been to a lot of cool places because, especially when I was in the military, I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
Most of those were more mission oriented.
Sure.
But one of the coolest places I got to go was Australia. We were on the southern coast of Australia, and at the time of year, it was summer here in the U.S. It was winter down there.
Oh yeah.
And so we went down there, but it was like that coastline. It was it's not what you think of when you think of Australia. Most people, when you see Australia, it's the outback,
Right.
more, it almost looks more like West Texas.
Yeah.
When you go out there, but that entire coastline was just a lush green rolling hills. It was beautiful. That was probably one of the coolest places that I got to go.
My daughter got to go there, my oldest daughter, when she was young. So she probably might agree with you on that. I've never been, but she had a good time with that. So very cool. Okay, so one last fun question. Actually, I have two more I want to ask him. First concert you ever attended? I want
REO Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon.
Yep.
Very
My
cool.
family went to an REO Speedwagon concert. I can't even remember how old I was, but I remember it was the early 80s.
That's so funny you said your family. That's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Chris is in the entertainment industry, so he's running
we
around.
talked earlier.
Yeah, he's running around with all kinds of cool people. All right, well, last funny question I want to ask you. Do you have one yet? Or you okay? He doesn't. He's not today. Okay, what's in your Amazon cart? This one cracks me up.
Actually, it's empty. I don't have anything in
You
there.
did that good. I did one the other day on somebody, and he just looked at me like, you did not just ask that question. He didn't have anything in his. Well, no, he did. He said he had his books in there, but it was so funny because he just gave me that look like you just did not ask me that question.
Yeah.
That's my favorite question.
Yeah, I had to do an order because I had to order some books for a speaking engagement I did on Tuesday, as a matter of fact, and ordered some books in. And so, that was my last order that I did.
Amazon is great for books because you can get them pretty quick and pretty, inexpensive there.
Yep.
But the reason I asked that question is because there's kind of the funny story with me on it because mine, I never have stuff in it. Mm-hmm. Like if I put something in Amazon, I'm probably going to buy it right then and there. I seldom ever put anything on the list, but my son is connected to my account. So every time I go to purchase something, I have a list of stuff in there I need to look at, and I get told you need to look at this. And it's like, I'm not talking one thing to a list of things, and I have to move them to the save for later. So I have no idea how many things are in our save for later list right now, but it's everything from pet supplies to car parts to hair stuff.
Yeah. We
find out funny things about the Amazon cart.
Yeah, there's a lot of odd stuff that's been ordered out because my daughter, on top of powerlifting and being an athlete, she also shows animals for FFA. So every once in a while we have to order some
random
pet or animal grooming thing or whatever. So there's some odd stuff.
We've had a lot of pets, so I can probably relate to that on some level. Well, this has been great. I'm excited. I'm glad you were able to come on here and talk a little bit about what you've got going on. I think what you're doing is awesome. If our audience wants to connect with you, we've already talked about the book, but maybe they want to connect with you, where would you like us to send them?
I have a website, drdavismcallister.com. Okay. And right now I was just telling Chloe, I have somebody that made some comments about the design of my website. So I actually have somebody working on it to make it more aesthetically
make
pleasing.
It more beautiful.
Yeah, make it better. So, but a newer design's coming out. But right now, everybody's stuck with the old awful design until...
I'm sure it's okay. It gets what's on there needs to be on there.
It's functional.
Yeah,
it's functional.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
they can reach out to me on there.
Okay.
There's contact links on there if somebody wants to shoot me an email.
Okay.
It's at info@drdavismcallister.com. That's the easiest way.
Yeah, and we'll make sure too when this goes out, we'll get the links in there and get them wherever they need to go so they know how to find you and all that good stuff. So it's been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on here and chatting with us, and it was fun. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
We had fun even with all our little mini distractions. It's all cool. We made it work. We always do.
I've found that the best stories have had the craziest things going on. Every time we've gone on a trip, even, because we're a hunting family, and so even our hunting trips, it's not a good hunting trip unless something goes haywire.
Got to have a little chaos, right? Oh, yeah. Got to have a little bit in there. It's that human need of uncertainty. We need some of that every once in a while, right? Got to have a little element of surprise. So this has been great. Yep. We do want to say, of course, to our listeners, if you enjoy the show, please go check us out, Facebook. Give us a rating on iTunes and hit the subscribe button on YouTube so we can continue sharing all these awesome stories. And then we want to leave you guys with a final parting thought. In order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another. We will see you next time.